Hi, how are you? So it's Keith speaking. Um, Today I've decided to be a little more audible or to come out with a message during these pandemic times, and the message is how to how to do something for yourself um, that could financially say put you out of the curve of unemployment that you know everyone is generally in, or most people are generally in at the time being, because um, you take into consideration of things like the lockdown and how people have been trying as much as they can to to probably survive on um, say the resources that they have perhaps saved in a very long time. So as I was out last night, which is something that I did as a casual walk through the different places that I have interacted with people, I kind of noticed a strange um, feeling of loneliness in the places that would have been crowded or that would have had a big traffic of people, perhaps like a year ago or 2 years ago. And that kind of struck me different because it it kind of means that um, the normality that was there before is no longer there, and that is in people having the freedom to spend and have that luxury or enjoy that life that comes with being able to earn or being able to have a certain source of income. And yeah, as I decided to take a walk back home rather than find a ride, and maybe put my mind more to the certain things that one could do to alleviate themselves from you know being dependent on things like employment, is something that caught me for a while as I did that walk. And yeah, I came up with ideas that are kind of related to the alphabetical order, and the best way to find out somebody's talents or skills are by the things that you know how to do. And how do you name these things? You probably look for a letter and then put a word of an action that um, you have probably experienced before and you can perhaps do, but do at a level that is personal, that is individualistic. And yeah, so I decided to start with the letters A, B, and C. I didn't go as much too far because the time in between to think about these things was a little limited. So it's why I kind of minimized my thinking to specific letters and perhaps get more details on like what I'm thinking about, or try and make more sense of the few letters that I have come up with compared to going a whole long run and you have so you have very little details of what you're thinking about. One of these ideas that I came up with, or that came to my mind, was the idea of art, and it sat me in a position where I had to think of how doing art can earn one money, or doing art can provide something for one to sell and make a living off it. So you have probably had people that, or you have probably had yourself in an experience where you're in school and you're given a class to perhaps do a little bit of art. It might be introductory art in that you do not continue with it for so long, but at least you have an idea of how the art world works, or how people sit down and draw stuff in a room and, make these images, or make something that is attractive to, or that is intriguing to another viewer. And with that, I kind of try to think through the different forms of art that you can do, and the different forms of art that one could get involved in are kind of many, in a sense, in that you have to find one or a few of them in which you have to be specific, and from being specific, it gives you a leverage of mastering what you're doing, and perhaps easily increasing on the quantity in supply of how much art you're putting to the market to sell, or how much art it is that you can produce of something that is similar. Usually, if your art is all over, you find out that being able to increase, say, the amount of art pieces that you have in these different directions might be a little tedious and perhaps complicated to concentrate your mind on different 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 forms of art, which is more like you're achieving the whole item, or you're doing the work, but then it's not going to a rate of growth. So the different forms of art, they are perhaps things that you can research about, or take back yourself into a memory of remembering the different types of art that you're doing in the previous times. And one of them could be artwork on paper. So it could be you drawing something on a piece of paper and perhaps paint it or color it. And regarding some factors, it could be something that one buys into. You could have artwork that also goes in the same category of painting or drawing, but this time not on a piece of white paper, but a piece of wood that you draw onto and maybe paint. And the more you have, different pieces of wood put together with different forms of, say, art on them, it can give you revenue with whoever is intrigued in the art that you're doing and can, buy into it. You could look into another option of art, like painting. The painting might, take shape on various forms of say material, depending on what you choose or what is available to you. And some material could be in the shape of canvas, in the shape of wood, you're painting, and it's something that carries a message to the buyer that is interested in it, and you're selling it. So with that being said, of the different forms of art, you could, extensively do your research and find out what really sits well with you. And from that point, you now look into the market of where you're going to sell your different forms of art. Usually in different countries, you find out that art can be sold in places like, say, tourist attractions, or places like museums, or places like art shows, depending on the different locations in which the markets are positioned. With that being said, we would still take into consideration for the fact that the lockdown has kind of frozen some things, in that tourists are not moving anymore as much as they did before, or you don't have these public places open, and you might not be able to sell your artwork like you perhaps perceived in what I'm saying. So the other option that really comes up is the online markets, and the online markets vary. It could start with your Facebook account. It could start with even bigger organizations, like having to make a platform on either eBay or Amazon and see how you get your product out. But like I said, the product that you get out has to be intriguing, or has to be interesting for the other person, for them to be, or for them to have the capacity to buy into it. Otherwise, like, you might have different forms of art that you put out there, and say the market value is either low for you, or some people don't get to buy as much as you thought they would. So as you try and do that, just put it in the package that you're making something that is not only interesting for you, but even for the other person. With that being said, art also takes different shapes in forms of the consumers that kind of buy the art. So the consumers really vary in the categories of age, depending on say the person that is trying to purchase this art. So you can have the kids art or the children's art. You could have things like the mature art, perhaps for youthful adults that go to school, or that like to design and decorate their homes or places. Or you could have even bigger art that is bought by, say, bigger platforms like newspapers, or by say people that make magazines. Or you could have art that is perceived at a level of monumental purposes. So depending on the art that you make, it could have a value to a different customer, and your target customer starts with your choice of art that you want to make. So you could look into that, and yeah, it's one thing that really does good or does big if you venture into it. How much more could I say about that? I would like to make more videos of the same topic and perhaps broaden on the things that I'm trying to put out. But if you like the video, please subscribe and like, plus share where you can share, and yeah, be in in that be in that rhythm for more videos to come in the same category or in the same shape. And with that being said, my name is Keith, and I'll see you in the next video.